The top 10 richest criminals in history. When crime pays, until the bill arrives. Let's be honest, most of us feel broke just buying groceries these days. Meanwhile, there's a completely different class of people who looked at the global financial system and basically said, yeah, I'm taking all of that. Welcome to the world of the richest criminals in history. Not tech billionaires or CEOs, but masterminds who turned fraud, corruption, drug empires, and organized crime into multi-billion-dollar machines. We're talking about money so ridiculous it became a storage problem. The kind of wealth where cash gets eaten by rats, private jets become delivery trucks, and entire governments struggle to track hidden fortunes. So buckle up and prepare to enter a world of cartel kings, corrupt rulers, and corporate fraudsters who built empires through crime and became richer than most countries in the process. 10. Kenneth Lay, the smartest guy in the empty room. Name: Kenneth Lay. Age: 64, deceased, 1942 to 2006. Highest amount stolen or looted: $1.2 billion. Fun fact, he died just months before his official sentencing, meaning his criminal conviction was legally vacated posthumously, leaving him technically innocent in the eyes of the law. The corporate illusion. Kenneth Lay was the mastermind behind Enron, a company once praised as one of the most innovative businesses in the world. Behind the polished suits and Wall Street praise, however, Enron was secretly hiding billions in debt through accounting tricks, fake profits, and complex financial loopholes. While employees invested their life savings into Enron stock, Lay and other executives quietly sold their shares, making over $1 billion before the company collapsed in 2001. The scandal wiped out $74 billion in shareholder value and destroyed thousands of jobs. Lay was later convicted of fraud, but in a strange legal twist, he died of a heart attack before sentencing. Because he passed away before completing his appeal, his conviction was legally erased, meaning he technically died with a clean record. 9. Bernard Evers, the milkman who ruined WorldCom. Name: Bernard Evers. Age: 78, deceased, 1941 to 2020. Highest amount stolen or looted: $11 billion. Fun fact, he started his professional life as a high school physical education teacher and a local milkman before building and crashing a fraudulent telecom empire. From the milk route to Wall Street, Bernard Evers went from working low-paying jobs like a bouncer, delivery driver, and PE teacher to building WorldCom into one of America's biggest telecom companies. Known for his cowboy boots and down-to-earth image, he became a favorite on Wall Street as WorldCom rapidly expanded through major acquisitions. But when the telecom industry began collapsing in the early 2000s, Evers and his executives used accounting tricks to hide massive losses by falsely labeling everyday expenses as long-term investments. This made the company appear far more profitable than it actually was. The scandal eventually reached an astonishing $11 billion. When auditors exposed the scheme in 2002, WorldCom filed for bankruptcy in what became one of the biggest corporate scandals in history. Evers claimed he knew nothing about the fraud, but the jury rejected his defense, sentencing him to 25 years in prison before he was later released early due to poor health. 8. Victor Bout, the real-life merchant of death. Name: Victor Bout. Age: 59. Born January 11, 1967. Highest amount stolen or looted: $6 billion. Fun fact, known globally as the Merchant of Death, his notorious exploits directly inspired the 2005 Hollywood blockbuster film Lord of War, starring Nicolas Cage. Fills a post-Soviet void. Victor Bout rose to power after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when massive amounts of military weapons and aircraft were left poorly secured across Eastern Europe. A former Soviet military linguist, Bout saw an opportunity and built a huge arms trafficking network, using a fleet of old Soviet cargo planes and front companies that appeared legitimate. Nicknamed the Merchant of Death, he allegedly supplied weapons to dictators, warlords, and rebel groups across Africa, the Middle East, and South America, sometimes even arming both sides of the same conflict. His empire reportedly generated around $6 billion in illicit revenue while he helped evade international authorities for years. His operation finally came crashing down in 2008 after a DEA sting operation in Thailand, where he agreed to sell weapons to undercover agents posing as Colombian rebels. Boot was sentenced to 25 years in prison in the U.S. before being released in 2022 as part of a prisoner swap involving American basketball star Brittany Griner.
7. Sani Abacha, the sovereign kleptocrat. Name: Sani Abacha. Age: 54. Deceased: 1943 to 1998. Highest amount stolen or looted: $5 billion. Fun fact: over 2 decades after his sudden death, international asset recovery teams are still uncovering his hidden bank accounts, globally known as the Abacha loots. Treating the central bank like an ATM. Sani Abacha seized power in Nigeria through a military coup in 1993 and ruled as an absolute dictator. Unlike most criminals who operate in secrecy, Abacha used his position as head of state to directly drain public funds through official government channels, often disguising withdrawals as national security expenses. Billions were allegedly moved from the Central Bank of Nigeria into private accounts abroad, using a network of associates and offshore banking systems across Europe. Over his 5-year rule, an estimated $5 billion was siphoned from the country's treasury. He died suddenly in 1998, but investigations into his finances continued long after. So far, billions have been recovered by international authorities, while efforts to trace the remaining stolen funds, known as the Abacha loot, are still ongoing today. 6. Joaquin El Chapo, the subterranean kingpin. Name: Joaquin Guzman Lueta. Age: 69, born April 4, 1957. Highest amount stolen or looted: $14 billion. Fun fact: he famously escaped from maximum security prisons twice, once hiding inside a dirty laundry cart and once through a highly engineered 1-mile ventilated tunnel built directly underneath his cell shower. Building the Sinaloa Empire. Joaquin Guzman rose from extreme poverty in rural Mexico to lead the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in history, with an estimated empire worth around $14 billion. He modernized cartel operations using advanced logistics, including underground tunnels beneath the U.S.-Mexico border, submarines, aircraft, and other transport systems to move drugs across more than 50 countries. El Chapo also became infamous for his dramatic prison escapes, including one through a sophisticated tunnel system in 2015. After his final recapture in 2016, he was extradited to the U.S. and is now serving a life sentence in maximum security prison. 5. Ferdinand Marcos, the conjugal dictatorship. Name: Ferdinand Marcos. Age: 72, deceased 1917 to 1989. Highest amount stolen or looted: $10 billion. Fun fact: when the family was forced to flee the presidential palace during a popular uprising in 1986, his wife, Imelda Marcos, left behind a collection of over 1,000 pairs of luxury designer shoes. The architecture of state theft. Ferdinand Marcos became president of the Philippines in 1965 and later declared martial law in 1972, effectively turning the country into a tightly controlled dictatorship under his rule. Alongside his wife, Imelda Marcos, he built a system of crony capitalism, allegedly diverting billions from foreign aid, state industries, and national resources into private control through shell companies and offshore accounts. The regime is estimated to have looted up to $10 billion from the economy.
After the 1986 People's Revolution, the Marcos family fled to Hawaii, leaving behind a palace filled with extreme luxury, including Imelda's massive collection of designer items and thousands of shoes. Decades later, efforts to recover the stolen wealth are still ongoing. 4. Bernie Madoff, the Wall Street illusionist. Bernard Madoff, age 82, deceased 1938 to 2021. Highest amount stolen or looted, $64.8 billion. Fun fact, he was an incredibly respected financial executive who once served as the chairman of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, utilizing his high institutional credibility to completely shield his massive fraud from government regulators. The ultimate inside job. Bernard Madoff operated openly from a prestigious Wall Street office in Manhattan and was widely respected as a financial expert trusted by billionaires, charities, and major institutions. Behind the reputation, however, he was running the largest Ponzi scheme in history. Instead of investing client money, he used new deposits to pay earlier investors while fabricating fake trade records and account statements for decades. The scheme collapsed during the 2008 financial crisis when investors rushed to withdraw funds that didn't exist, exposing a fraud estimated at $64.8 billion. Madoff confessed, pleaded guilty, and was sentenced to 150 years in prison, where he died in 2021, leaving behind one of the most devastating financial scams ever recorded. 3. Dawood Ibrahim, the sovereign shadow boss. Dawood Ibrahim, age 70, born December 26, 1955, highest amount stolen or looted, $30 billion. Fun fact, despite being one of the world's most wanted fugitives, he reportedly maintained a deep, lifelong passion for cricket, frequently spotted watching international matches from luxury VIP stadium boxes in Dubai during the 1980s and 1990s. The birth of D Company. Dawood Ibrahim rose from a street enforcer in Mumbai to build D Company, a massive transnational crime syndicate involved in drug trafficking, extortion, counterfeiting, arms smuggling, and money laundering. Over time, his network allegedly grew into a $30 billion shadow empire, with influence extending into real estate and even Bollywood, where films were reportedly used to help launder money. After being linked to the 1993 Mumbai bombings, he fled India and has since lived as a fugitive, with his global criminal network still believed to operate through hidden corporate fronts across multiple regions. 2. Amado Carrillo Fuentes, the Lord of the Skies. Amado Carrillo Fuentes, age 40, deceased 1956 to 1997. Highest amount stolen or looted, $25 billion. Fun fact, nicknamed El Señor de los Cielos, the Lord of the Skies, revolutionized drug smuggling in the 1990s by using a fleet of private commercial jets to transport massive cocaine shipments from Colombia into Mexico. As leader of the Juarez cartel, he built a highly organized air-based smuggling empire, allegedly worth around $30 billion, and secured protection through widespread bribery of officials and military figures. His power eventually made him a major target for authorities and rivals. In 1997, he died during an attempt at plastic surgery in Mexico City, meant to change his identity, ending one of the most unusual empires in drug trafficking history. Pablo Escobar, the king of cocaine. Name: Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. Age: 44, deceased 1949 to 1993. Highest amount stolen or looted, $30 billion. Fun fact, his cartel was bringing in so much physical paper currency that they spent an estimated $2,500 every single month just buying rubber bands to bundle their massive stacks of cash together. The monopoly on global cocaine. Pablo Escobar was the most infamous drug lord in history, leading the Medellin cartel at its peak in the late 1980s and controlling an estimated 80% of the global cocaine trade. His empire generated hundreds of millions of dollars weekly, but the wealth was so massive it became impossible to manage. Billions in cash were hidden in fields, warehouses, and even lost to rats and water damage. Escobar was once ranked among the world's richest men by Forbes, despite operating entirely outside the law. His criminal empire collapsed in 1993 after a manhunt led by Colombian forces with U.S. support tracked him down in Medellin, ending his reign in a fatal rooftop shootout. The ultimate moral of the story. And that's the end of the journey through history's most shocking and profitable criminal empires, where billions were made through fraud, cartels, corruption, and chaos. But one pattern stands out. Almost all of them ended the same way: dead, imprisoned, or stripped of everything they built. From luxury empires to maximum security cells, none of the wealth lasted. The lesson is simple. Crime may generate unbelievable money in the short term, but it always comes with a final bill, and it's never cheap. If this deep dive blew your mind and made your jaw drop, don't leave us hanging on the tarmac. We have plenty of deep financial breakdowns, historical deep dives, and true crime files heading your way. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this countdown. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive briefing. Drop a comment below. If you suddenly woke up with Pablo Escobar's budget for rubber bands, what is the first completely ridiculous thing you are buying? Let's talk in the comments.